So you ready now?
Sure.
Right, you gonna roll that pneumonia hole up? There's no in between this year. It's either really good fields or really crappy fields. I don't know why, but anyway.
You can't use crappy on the interweb.
Have I said morning America? Morning America, how we doing today?
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. He is bound and determined to ruin my video. Take 3. Morning America, how are we doing today? We are out checking fields. We're going over to check another, field we stopped and checked about a week ago. It was too wet, so we're going to drive back over and check it again. Why are we doing that today? Because we had a storm last night. We had a real nice, well, neat storm. It was an electrical storm came through. How much rain did we get out of it?
Not very much. 20 hundredths. 20
hundredths, which is less than 1/4 of an inch, okay? Not a lot of rain, but enough to where we can't really do anything today or this morning at least. So we're using it to do other things like rip bumpers off of trucks. So, yeah, he likes to blame me for stuff.
Stan did it.
Yeah, Stan did it. Yeah, I wasn't driving.
Do you know anybody named Brandon?
Let's go, Brandon. Right? Okay.
Serious.
So anyway,
You'll cut that out anyway.
No, I won't. No, I'll leave that in.
Okay.
Maybe. He'll say something that'll ruin the video though. He'll do something. I got it. If you're ever watching a video with Kirk and there's an edit and you'll see his lips moving but no sound, it's because I had to edit it out. He said something derogatory about something somewhere. Yeah. Guilty. Look at that guilty look on his face.
I just thinking about the ear of corn where it robs.
From what, 2 years ago he did that to me. Anyway, no, he just has stuff around the truck or around the farm that's kind of broke but not ready to fix yet. I mean, but it'll last a little longer before we, or the mechanics are too busy. We'll get to that this winter when they're not so busy, that kind of thing. So he has a tractor, an older tractor, and he had me drive it up to a field. What was that, 20 miles away, something like that? And I was pulling an implement. This is 2 weeks ago. And pull this tractor, pull this implement up there, and on the way up there, a seal goes out, and it's my fault. So yeah, Stan broke the tractor. Cost me, how much was the fix on that?
$2,500.
$2,500. Yeah, Stan's fault. Yeah, but it's been like that for forever. So, but this truck, this pickup, this is a Ford F-250. And he has one of them great big cattle bumpers, or bull bumpers on the front,
ranch
hands, yeah. And it's really strong. So if you hit a deer or something like that, but it's also right in the center. It's got a receiver hitch. So the receiver hitch you put on the back of the truck, you can put on the front, and it helps for like putting machinery into a barn or something, because you're steering from the front instead of backing it in. Anyway, that bumper has been loose for 3 years. About 2 years ago, they welded it up, kind of stiffened it up, but the welds weren't very good. They like chicken scratch. I looked at them, they weren't very good. He's a hell of a farmer. He ain't worth a darn for welding though. Anyway, the bumper came loose here about another 1.5 years ago. It started loose. It's just been out there flopping around. Not going to fall off, but loose. Well, it fell off today. They pulled up to the shop and it was kind of hanging at a weird angle, and Kirk says, "What'd you do, Stan? Break my bumper?" Yeah, that's it. I broke the bumper. So you're not talking much.
I'm just taking it all in.
Taking it all in. All my lies. He's listening to all my lies. Anyway, what's the subject matter today? About the dryer? Grain dryer?
I don't know. You're the boss. Sure. We'll go with the dryer. Uh-oh, I'm speeding. I should slow down.
What are speed limits on gravel roads?
50.
50?
Yep. I think.
You're in trouble.
I think it's 45 or 50.
You're in trouble. Anyway, so you were looking this morning on the computer, and you're looking at a dryer, a grain dryer. Now what are your decision process? What are you looking at?
Well, we are trying to decide if it would be of good economic sense and value to possibly buy a dryer, so we can harvest our crops a little wetter and dry them down before we put them in a bin. Because we struggle. Today is Thursday. Right? We are going...
No, today's Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday.
We're going down here right now to look at a circle of corn and pick some ears to see if it's ready to cut. It's been a little too wet, so everything in a crop depends on moisture. So the elevators and everything need stuff so dry to store. Corn needs to be down to about 16% moisture. Now, 16% of it is water to store good. This irrigated circle's been running around 20-21% moisture, and because of all the humidity in the air, humid nights, foggy mornings, it just will not dry down. Our sorghum's the same way. It needs to get down to about 13% moisture to store good. It's staying around 15 or 16, and it's just sitting there. It's just too wet during the day, too much humidity, too wet at night.
If it wasn't as humid, it would dry out.
It would dry out more,
but it's just, okay. And this humidity you're talking about the other day is kind of like a marine layer, or if you live on the ocean or something, it's kind of like that marine layer that comes in. And it's just, it's not rain, but it's just very, very wet.
So what we're talking about, and you can take some video here in just a little bit. So our corn, the windy days and whatnot, it's starting to fall over pretty bad. It needs cut, but still a little too wet to put in a bin. Our milo, next Monday, 5 days from now, we have a chance of snow here, snow showers. If we do that, our milo starts falling, we lose a lot of dollars in milo.
Just to clear, when you say falling, you're talking about the whole plant falls over?
Right.
Or the seeds fall out of the head onto the ground?
No, the whole plant will just fall over.
Okay.
A lot of times we have headers that will pick a lot of that plant up, but if it falls over, there's still a certain amount you just simply cannot pick up. If it falls over and it snows on it, let's say, and you can't get in there for a week, or it rains on it and mud gets in, a lot of it will just start going bad on you, and then it's just no good to harvest. So anyway, we're sitting and debating a dryer set up with a bin.
What would it gain? What would a dryer gain? You could cut it wet.
Yeah, cut it wet
and then dry it.
Run it through a dryer
mechanically,
and dry it down.
Mechanically dry it instead of naturally dry it.
Correct. Yeah.
And what are the?
See, if you
let's turn you around.
This corn right here is in a really bad spot. This is where we park our semis when we load. So this is a but you can see the corn.
You can see way up here
falling over.
Taller corn.
Yeah.
And this is much more stunted corn. But this is because we pack this area with semis and we pull in.
But you can see it falling down them rows. So even the irrigated corn out there's huge areas where it's falling over. Corn we can usually pick up pretty easily. It's sorghum or milo. Once it falls down, it's a struggle to pick up.
Right in here, you can see some. I'm pointing on the camera here, Kirk.
Where it's
right in here, you can see some that's laid over.
Now this is not.
There's some right there.
Yeah.
You can see.
This is almost no corn here, but this is right where we park semis all the time.
Right.
So anyway, that's what we're going to go pick some ears now and take them to town, shell them out, see what the moisture is. Maybe tomorrow we can come pick this circle of corn. So we're in a great debate right now with next week looking at snow on Monday. The rest of the week, the highs are supposed to be in the 50s, the lows right down at freezing or upper 20s. Do we want to put very much wet stuff in our bins and then we can't get it dried and the grain starts to rot?
Milo, what's considered dry and what would be considered wet stuff?
About 12% moisture. Anything from 14 under on milo.
It's pretty good. 12 is ideal.
Deal with. 12 is ideal.
Okay.
Right now, most of our milos run around 18%.
14 and up is getting once you get up in the 18, you're risking rot.
Right.
Right. Unless you can mechanically dry it.
Correct.
Now, what about your dryer? You've got air fans.
We have big fans.
But that doesn't dry it enough?
If the temperatures would stay dry, humidity levels stay dry, that would work. But looking into the next week, the average humidity is going to be around 70%.
You're pumping humid air in. Humid air is not going to dry the clothes in the dryer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's what today's debate has been.
Well, this morning you were on the computer.
Money?
Yeah, on the computer you were sitting there looking at, I asked you the question about if you spend all the money on one of these dryers, and I don't even know what they're worth or how much they cost, but you spent the money to put the dryer in. There's that upfront cost, but then just every year using it, they use propane for fuel.
Propane, correct.
And you'll use a lot of propane.
Yep.
Eventually, this is one of the first things I learned from Kirk when I first started coming up here on weed harvest, is how much money you put into the crop versus how much you get out of it. And the difference is your profit. Just same way with the trucking. You put money into diesel and insurance and tires and oil, all these different things, those costs go up. The more you put into that, and the profit, or not the profit, the revenue the truck brings in, the difference is your profit. So on a wheat field or something, or a crop, you got to plant it. There's a cost there. Before you plant it, you probably put some fertilizer on it and prep it in some way. And then you've got some more fertilizer. Then you've got pesticides or herbicides to kill weeds, and fungicides. By the time you spend all these, every time, I remember your dad said, well, my crop up on his old land up there, he said, my crop only brought in, I don't know, let's say 60 bushels an acre on wheat. And Kirk's was bringing in 90, but Kirk had $50 worth of money into it, where his dad only had $20 worth in. His dad actually made about the same as much as Kirk on that particular field that particular year.
Yep.
In the long run, though, your method actually wins out most of the time.
You look at a long 10 year average, correct?
Yours is much better than your dad's was.
Yep.
Okay, but you got to figure out, like the dryer, putting the cost of the dryer in, but then after the dryer's in, you've got the cost of the propane, you got the cost of the time and the manpower, because you got to have somebody there monitoring this
24 hours
while it's drying. So that means somebody's out there. Now it's not 24 hours all year long. That's 24 hours for maybe a week. Right. But you got to pay that person. Is it worth putting a dryer in? And what was your answer on that? As far as it's the lost crop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year we figured on our sorghum alone, only on 500 acres, how much we lost, because we had weather kind of like we're having this year. A lot of wind, a little snow came through. We looked at what we lost last year, and we know that because we had several fields that was half cut, and we pulled out because it got too wet to even put in a bin. And so we know what it was making before we left, and we know what it's making 2 and 3 weeks later when we come back in. A lot less
bushels per acre.
And our bushels per acre, and therefore our dollars per acre, we know exactly how many dollars we lost on that field. And last year alone, we could have paid for half of a dryer system.
Okay, so it is worth it, even if you don't use it this year or next year. You might use it 3 years from now, but it'll pay for itself eventually, fairly rapidly.
There again, every year's different. Right. It depends.
So these are the decisions, and these aren't just, hey, should I buy that new raincoat down at Walmart kind of decisions. These are decisions that kind of drastically affect you. I mean, you're not talking about a lot of money. Yeah, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars kind of decisions.
Yeah, a couple $100,000. Yeah.
So anyway,
so I'm after Stanford loan.
Ain't it fun being a farmer?
After Stanford loan, my banker.
If I win the lottery, he'd have all brand new machinery.
All right, let's go pick some corn.
Hey, I got to win the lottery first. All right, let's go. Let's go, Shuck.
We'll probably find some.
Oh, by the way, it's going to be very windy out here, so probably won't be any audio.
So right here is a perfect example of what we're talking. Just look across. I mean, it's like a lot of acres of it like this.
Yeah.
So we can come and we can pick a lot of this up like this here. The corn head gets under that, picks that up, not a problem. But look at this one here, clear on the ground. A lot of times these will break off. You know, here's another one. I mean, here's another one that's lying in the same direction. Yeah. That corn head might just hit it and push it on the ground. And right there's an ear that was just lost to falling over. But we're gonna take it and go get a sample. So we pick up most of the stuff with cornhead, not everything. So you add enough of these up, we could be 50 bucks an acre. You figure that on 300 acres, $1,500. You know, it all adds up. Actually, my math is horrible. 3 bushel an acre. If we lose 3, yeah, let's say, if we lose 5 bushel an acre, corn right now is 5. That's $75. 75 bucks an acre on 100 acres.
I was just zooming in on the smoke coming out of your ears.
So this field right here, we could lose $7,500, $7,500.
Just on one field.
Just on this field right here.
And that's
alone.
just the circle part, not counting the corners.
Yeah, that's just one circle and one field.
Yeah.
But if we could have come in 2 weeks ago when all this was still standing, before the windstorms hit, before the plants dried up.
Yep.
See, this plant's just dried up to nothing. There's nothing. It's completely dead.
Right.
That's why the wind is blowing it over.
Yeah,
you know,
when it was green, when it's green, here, turn this around. Turn that around. When you're walking through sideways through the field, not going down a row, but going through this way, when it's still green, you can push these out of the way and they'll bend quite a bit. So when you go through like now, and I don't want to break a stalk, but it'll snap over just like this one. And just go walking through, it'll break down there, and then it falls.
Snaps right at the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the wind does that. I didn't break that one.
Yes, you did.
I'll stand that one back up. But you get the idea. That's the problem with. It was already on the ground, dog. Don't blame him. He's always like, well, there goes my profit.
So, you know, we got a whole circle of this. I mean, you just walk through it. It's just big areas where it's just.
Well, like here, there's one I'm standing on. Here's another one.
Right here's another one.
Yep. Now the head will pick this one up. It'll get underneath there and pick it up. But all these down here, just all of these, hold out.
And we start talking a lot of money.
All of it. Okay, because probably last night during that storm, a gust of wind just happened to come down and broke one over, and that extra is like a domino effect and broke 8 or 9 of them over.
And we've had 2 or 3 storms in the last couple of weeks. So.
See this whole row, see down here? That's what he's talking about when they break over and they're on the ground. One of the other things is the previous video I was talking about was raining and it was cold and I was wet and damp. We couldn't do anything. The corn, though, we've been picking corn at another field down there because see how this is aiming down, so water hits it and it runs down that shuck, that husk, and falls off. And inside, that's somewhat protected in there, and it doesn't absorb the moisture as much. So corn actually picks pretty good when it's got a little bit of dampness, like a little humidity on it. But here's a big old head.
That's what we try to grow is right here.
That's a good one there.
We have every ear just like that.
And now a lot of that has to do with variety and stuff too, right? What variety is this?
Long. This is a golden harvest variety. You can see the difference. There's 230 bushel acre corn. There's 180 bushel acre corn.
Yep.
So we like all of our ears like that. That's a beautiful ear right there. Nice big deep kernels.
Right. Now break the other one in half.
They're demanding now.
Now you can compare the two.
Yep. There's a lot more corn in that one than there is in that one.
Yep.
So there is. Cool. All right, we got 4 ears to go take a sample. Go to town, and if this is even close where we remotely can think we can put it in a bin and get her dried down outside.
Now, somebody was also asking about one of the previous videos was about the grain cart. Why do you use a grain cart? Well, we try to use a grain cart because before, oh, I'm sorry about this wind. I'm gonna have to get in the pickup. All right, now we're back in here. We can hear me. Trying to match this video up. I was standing out there in the wind, and I know you wouldn't have been able to hear me at all. So what I'm going to try to explain here is, remember one of the previous videos, we were talking about grain carts and the tracks. and why we like to use, why Kirk spent so much money on a grain cart. Why don't we just drive the trucks out into the field? Well, right here's the reason, okay? When you're standing out here in the field, look over here at the irrigation boom. It comes out to the end right here. So everything over there is the irrigated corn. And as you go along here, you'll see right here's a line, and to the left is irrigated corn, and to the right is non-irrigated corn, dryland corn. And you can see the huge difference between irrigated and dryland. But even the dryland has some ears and, you know, produce something. But right here in this area is where we brought the semis in. The semis would come in and make a big U-turn and park, and then the grain cart would come over and load them up. And as you can see, the dirt is just compacted so much that this corn, it grew, but it didn't have enough, it didn't produce an ear. Okay, so that's soil compaction, and that's why you don't drive a semi out into the field and pack the dirt. That's why you use a grain cart with big flotation tires, or even better, a grain cart with tracks. So you know, because here Kirk got back in the truck here. Let me ask him a real quick question. You see sometimes on videos and stuff, get out of here flies, you'll see videos where they have the combine out in the field and they're driving a semi right beside it, unloading onto the semi. Now, that would probably work in some place like Illinois, where they get plenty of rain and it's perfectly flat ground. There's no terraces and stuff like that. Is that?
I can honestly
right?
say I've never saw that.
You've never seen a semi out in the field? I have. I have seen video in movies or whatever.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but he wouldn't dare do it out here.
In the movies.
In the movie, that's Hollywood. But no, I've seen it video of it done.
We used to do it with farm trucks when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Farm truck.
And you're talking those little 5-ton, like your dad's 5-ton.
Yeah, and I could see them do it with semis. I mean, they do that with silage when they chop silage.
Right.
They run the
maybe
semi
that's
right
what I'm seeing. Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
But you pack your ground something horrible when you do that.
But also, there's areas out here you couldn't take a truck down because there's terraces.
Right.
You get high centered on the terraces.
You would tear a semi up.
Yeah, you would tear it, not the semi, you tear the trailer up though. The belly, the hoppers underneath would get tore up and everything. And it's super, super hard on equipment. So they make a special machine called a grain cart. You pull it with a tractor, and that's why we do that. That's why I say we a lot. I'm talking, you know, but I should say Kirk, or farmers in general.
So when I was a kid, nobody had grain carts.
Okay.
So what you did then, you either drove the truck out to the field where the combine was,
and just kind of parked it.
Kind of what you're referring to, or you deadheaded, if you would, or time the combine got a grain bin load,
that's what my grandpa did.
Gear, and you deadhead to the truck. Well, some genius, and I hope he's living on the beach somewhere right now drinking martinis, but some genius said, why don't we make a trailer and put a bin on it that you pull behind a tractor? And so grain carts was born probably in the 60s, 1960s, I would guess.
Okay.
So look at that quality corn right there.
Here, yeah.
I suppose that would show up on your video?
I don't know, let me stand outside.
We're just, okay. We're just on the other side of the circle right now. There you go.
Yeah.
Or you can stand outside in the wind if you want.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's just, there's what, 40-mile-an-hour wind today? It's just terrible. Terrible breezy. But there's a whole bunch of it. Now, granted, this is on the edge of the field, and a wind gust might have come along here, and this is the first domino, so to say, and it pushed them over, you know. But there's a whole bunch right out in here. You can see a whole bunch of, I mean, there's a whole.
You can look past that for 100 yards. It's all down. So this field's gonna be funner and funner to pick up. Anyway, to answer your question, so it's basically a very efficient way to harvest compared to not having a grain cart. The combines run non-stop. I mean, they just go, they don't stop. They let the grain cart run back and forth to the truck.
You don't waste time letting it shutting the combine down to deadhead back over to a truck when it needs to be cutting, because today's a nice day. We need to get it cut today because tomorrow's going to rain. And that's happened, what, 3 times to us since I've been here? 3 weeks. I've been bad luck for you this year. As soon as I came up, it started raining and everything.
We bought a new grain cart 2 years ago.
Right, that's what we're talking about.
A new grain cart now is somewhere around $130,000.
Wow.
A new combine is somewhere around $500,000, around $500,000.
Right.
So what is it more efficient to keep rolling and taking a $500,000 combine, bouncing it back and forth through the field, not cutting,
Right.
going to a truck to dump.
And the other thing is, once you're full with that combine, you got all that weight in the combine now, and they're not designed for bouncing all the way across the field like that, because you wouldn't want to drive, what do we cut, about 4 mile, 5 mile an hour? But if you pick the header up and came back across the field, you're not want to do 4 or 5, you're going to want to kick it up to 8 or 9, and now it's bouncing really hard. It's just hard on machinery. Use the cheaper machinery to save the higher priced machinery,
and keep the combine rolling, because you're not making money if bushels isn't coming in.
This is standing pretty good right over here. Well, there's some down on the ground.
There's some right here. So
see, but
it's just big areas. I'm gonna walk out and grab a few ears out here too.
Okay.
And that way we kind of got ears from different sides of the field. Women's boobies. Breast cancer, I mean. Call me for all. Cut that one out. This one's dry. We was talking earlier about seed size with plants and ears. So see them bigger ones, see how much bigger? So even if there's the same amount of seeds on a plant,
these 2 small ones right here.
Even here when you're showing the 2 earlier, just that size of seed don't look like a lot, but the thickness of it, I don't know if you can pick that up, and the length of it, when you start putting hundreds of billions of seeds together, this bigger one makes so many more bushels an acre than that one. So there's a real small, here's a good comparison. Different varieties, different seeds. So you saw while I was shucking these seeds out that some of them just fell off the cob real easy. That would be these smaller ones, and they are drier. The bigger ones, the fatter ones, they're the wet ones. Like, look at this one. This is a nice big fat one. That's what you want, but they're wetter right now. And they were the ones I had to work a lot harder to get off the cob, are these big ones. The smaller ones,
like here, this is a small one, there's a big one.
And that small one, there's a small one to a big one. They're the ones that fell off the cobs real easy. These big ones are like 220 bushel an acre. Them are probably like 190 bushel an acre. 30 bushel an acre, figure that up on hundreds of acres, figure that up over cost, thousands and thousands of dollars.
You can also take these seeds, let me save a small one here. Here's a small one. You can also take these seeds and put them in your mouth and crunch them with your teeth. That one cracked. I'm trying to think of something. Popcorn. You get popcorn, an uncooked popcorn kernel, and you bite down on it, it'll crack pretty hard. This is the bigger one, which has probably more moisture. It kind of softly breaks. It doesn't snap, it breaks. So that's a.
I think this is dry enough to cut. It's dried a lot in the last 2 days since we checked it last. I'd say we're down to 18 and a half. We're gonna cut it because this field is just falling on the ground. Something terrible.
A lot of these farmers, they'll have a sample out of the combine. The combine will cut a sample. They'll get up inside and dip a sample out, and then just stick your hand in there. Now it's too wet. Kurt kind of can do it. Some of these old timers, that's how they used to do it. So you pour the grain in there. There you go. Then right here, he pushes the button. It empties out the last sample. Then this all in the top will drop down in here.
It's doing a self-calibration.
Yeah. Right now on the screen it says performing self-checks. It fills it up, now sweeps it over so it's a level thing, and the reason it does that is for the weight. Alright. And there's something in there, I don't know what it is, infrared or something like that, that is running, and well, that's reflecting, but it's doing something, and it's figuring out the 17.9 moisture, and the weight is 55.7. That sample right there weighs.
Light. Why do I have light corn?
Weighs a certain amount, and you multiply that by a whole bushel. It says a bushel should weigh 55.7 pounds. Gives you the idea how heavy the grain is.
So this is a perfect example of thinking of putting about a $200,000 dryer setup up. Is our corn's 18. It's just gonna take forever to dry down.
Forever. 2 weeks? Month?
Well,
3 days?
Today is Wednesday, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday's gonna be nice. Sunday night, a big front's coming in. Chance of snow Monday, but all of next week it's supposed to be a low of right down to freezing, or 28 degrees to freezing. Highs only around 60. 80% humidity at night, 60% humidity during the day, and nothing is going to dry down. It's just going to sit there.
You can blow all the air you want across it. You blow moist air across it.
Well, right. Well, even in the field, it's not going to dry down. It's just going to sit there.
Right.
So, and then every day that the wind blows, like today,
more stalks fall.
The more stuff falls over, falls down. So
more crop you lose.
Yes. So we sit here and we have a full harvest crew just sitting around filming you. Get it? So we have you here. We have another outside truck. My trucks were held up from doing other stuff.
They could be going to Nebraska or
and bringing
something.
Grain down. Everybody's just kind of sitting in limbo.
Yep.
So,
like John's sitting at home right now because you didn't know what to do. You hated to send him to Nebraska to pick up corn, and then he's on his way up. Oh, let's go ahead and cut. Now you don't have John.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And so, you know, we've got everybody on the payroll just sitting around waiting. You got to figure that into business expenses.
Right.
You know, it's so much more than just, oh, here's the cost. Here's
the cost of propane.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it.
So that's why
the cost of the crop that falls on the ground, the cost of the labor, the cost of not being able to use the trucks to go do other things.
Yep.
Cost of me not being able to go down and do my own thing.
You need to go get doing your stuff. Jim on our other trucks, he needs to get going and doing his stuff.
Right.
You know. So if we had a dryer right now, it's a no-brainer. I mean, just a no-brainer.
We'd have been cutting this stuff last week.
Yeah, we'd be cut.
Right.
In fact, they're saying chance of rain. Our corn would all be done, and we'd have at least another 1,000 acres of milo done. You know, we would be down to like a week's worth of cutting.
Right.
So that's a great debate about getting a dryer. Anyhow, is long term. How's it pay off? Would it pay off? Would you just have that huge investment wrapped up and sitting there and not hardly ever use it? You know, that's bad too, because I could be paying other bills, paying other land payments, whatever payments, you know. So anyway, there you go. Corn's 18. Do you wait till Monday? Maybe it snows, maybe it don't, maybe more falls down, maybe it don't.
because you were earlier today. You were dead set. We were going to go cut that because you were pretty confident.
I really
it
thought
was
we'd
down
be
about
down
15
to,
or 16.
well, or 17. I really was hoping it'd be down to about 17.
But we checked that last week, right at a week ago. We went out and checked it, and it was what, 21, 22, something
I think
like that?
21.
Okay, and in what, a whole week it only come down
about
2 points.
3 points. About 3 points.
Yeah, but still, it's not dry enough.
Yes.
So.
And it's getting where more and more and more is falling down now.
If you saw in the forecast that the weather was going to be pretty, nice and dry and low humidity,
we would wait.
You'd wait and cut that.
Yes.
Well, you're going to have to cut. You have to wait anyway because you don't have a heater. Is there an outside company you could take it to and heat it? Nothing like that. No services like that.
So that's where we stand right now. We're just and we can't do nothing this year. We're just thinking, is that a good investment for next year?
Right.
So anyway. There you go. Now
I know it's been a long video, people, but there's a lot of information, and I'll put a video out, and a lot of comments and I don't know what to tell you because I'm not a farmer. I'm a dumb truck driver up here helping a farmer, So some of the stuff you heard from the horse's mouth. The horse.
Beep 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 beep.